Hello again. Hello. Welcome to part two of um, On the Road to Family. So, this episode is about finding the right person. So, previously it was like, getting to the point of actually wanting to have kids. And when I was 33, like I'd gone through, a lot of years, and I'd set up some kind of like patterns that weren't really conducive to finding somebody that, would be, I guess, uh, someone who would be suitable as a partner in a family. But it's funny because like most of the people that I actually met in my younger years were, because I went to uni, I met a lot of people that were probably more suitable to that kind of thing. But for some reason, as I mentioned previously in my other video, I didn't actually want to have kids at the time. I didn't really think about having a family or having kids until, say, my early 30s. And, then it took actually 10 years or so to actually have that point where I have a family. But to actually find a partner to have a family with, it's really weird because, like, I met a lady in my early 30s, and we got together. And at that time, I had this thought of this. This is amazing. We could have a family. But very soon, like within, I guess, the first 3 months, there was some serious issues with our relationship. I mean, it was very chaotic in the sense that at random times things would happen that would be issues. Like, for instance, I had to leave the house, her apartment, many times. It kind of happened once when I was starting to connect with her, and then she said, "I don't want any of this stuff. Leave my place, and I don't want to see you again." And then about a week later, she contacted me and said, "Oh, actually, no." I contacted her and said, Hey, how are you? Want to catch up? La da da da. We had these plans for New Year's. Do you want to do it?" And actually, the first part of that New Year trip that we did was amazing. And then, I think for 2 years not been drinking any alcohol at all, and I was very fit and healthy, doing a lot of exercise. And I got together with her, and we thought, let's have a few drinks here and there, and it wasn't too bad. But I actually had one episode on New Year's Eve with hard alcohol, and it was like it freaked me out. Like it was pretty bad. Like um, and with the result of that, basically ruined, I think, the whole trip. Um, and the knock-on effect of that, I think, also, I think it really jolted my self-confidence, and it resulted um, in I guess the relationship kind of like reaching a peak and not going anywhere. But the issues around that, that's one issue. But I just think the environment that we were in over a couple of years, like, I tried to move in with her, and then that was kind of like back and forth, being in the house, being out of the house, not being able to stay, trying to create an environment that we were together. And at the end of the day, that kind of whole thing fell apart, and you know, I was just like, this isn't working. We're not getting any closer to having kids, having a family. And then, you know, she said, I think right near the end, it's like, "Oh, I wanted to have kids with you, blah 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 blah." But then it was all over. And I remember telling her that, if you wanted kids, why didn't you just say that, way earlier? The interesting thing is I was about, I think 36, 37, 37 at that time. And I'd just been meeting a lot of people online, like just random people. I was going to plan a travel. I had saved up during this time a house deposit for, potential house that we were going to move into. Thank God we didn't. That would have been bad. And thank God we didn't have kids, because I'm looking back on it now. It was an absolute, it was a disaster, and it wouldn't have been good if we had kids, because there were a lot of issues. I don't want to go into the personal parts because it is about someone else that, they're not able to comment on it. But, I just get the cats out of here. But the knock-on effect on that is, after we kind of split up, I'd been meeting a lot of people. I decided to travel, and I kind of let everything go. I'm like, I'm just going to travel to Vietnam. I'm just going to go do this. I didn't have any responsibilities at all. And, I kind of was looking, like, I was meeting people online. I'm like, I'm looking for a wife. But this is the one really important change I think that I experienced is I wasn't looking for someone to be with to see if they could be my wife. I was looking for a wife, right? I was looking. I already wanted to get married, and I was looking for the person to get married to. It wasn't like I'm gonna meet somebody and then maybe we'll try it out and it might work, it might not work. It was like this is person that I'm gonna meet is going to be this person in my life, and I'd set myself, I guess, mentally up. I remember I think there was a few people online that I'd listened to that mentioned it's like when you go and you want to get married, you don't look for someone and then see if it works. You say that that's it, this is it. Because if you're looking for someone that you say, well, we'll try it out, it's like, well, you're never going to, with that mentality, get through the difficult parts. So I think one of the things that we did in my previous relationship is I came into that mentality. So let's see how things go. But with this one, like my wife and the kids that we have, I went into the mentality. It's like I'm looking for a life partner. I'm going to get married to this person, for better or for worse, because people change over the years, and priorities change and interests change. I think the point is to find someone that you're going to commit to, right? You're going to commit to them no matter what. And well, looking back at my previous relationships, I wonder to myself is if I had met my wife in my 20s, would the outcome have been the same? And I don't know. I can't answer that because it didn't happen. But I guess the question is like, would there be anyone else if I went at my in previously if I had gone and with that mentality, how would the relationships have played out with that kind of mindset? And you can conjecture on what would happen, but I think your approach to the relationship at the beginning really sets the stage. And I traveled around the world, spent my entire house deposit to travel to Vietnam, to Thailand, to England, and went mountain climbing in Bulgaria. A beautiful experience. And then I went to Russia, where met online. I told her I'm going to get a visa to Russia. We'll meet, and we had an amazing experience. Really, really amazing experience together. And then I left. I think after 6 days, I left for Vietnam to go to my friend's wedding. And I was at the wedding. Sorry, I went to Vung Tau. This is like an amazing coast city that I was there, and I just explored it. Hanging out, chilling out, working remotely. And what happened was, as I was leaving, because I was in contact with my wife on the phone, almost every day. I actually lost my phone, and I lost her contact. That's another story. But like basically, I had my iPhone and I lost it, and I had WhatsApp on it that had her details, and there was no other way I could contact her unless she sent me a message on WhatsApp, because I could get into my account, but I couldn't get into my previous contacts list. It was absolute. I was like, oh, that's it. That's all over. But she contacted me and I said, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. I lost my phone. So I haven't been in touch. That was really, I think there was that, which kind of like, oh, you're valuing the connection. And then as I was leaving Vung Tau, to my friend's wedding, on the ferry, I got a message saying, like, we had a good time from my wife. She said, we had a good time. It was good fun. Like, what do you want next? Right. And I said, I'd like a kid, a family. I want to have a family. That's what I'm looking for. And I think, I hadn't said that to her when we caught up, but I kind of already felt like that's the person that I'm looking for. And she says, yeah, me too. That's who I'm looking for. And that was it. At that point, it was like, well, you're setting yourself up to, this person's going to be your wife. You're going to go and try and have kids and do all this stuff and be a family. And then, so I did everything in my power to set up a visa for 3 years in Russia to be with her. I traveled to Russia back and forth about 4 times to get that set up. She found an apartment, and then I lived there for, I think, 1 year before. Basically, I had to come back and then go there again. But it's played out amazingly. That's what this is about. This video series is also about, I guess, our relationship and how we got into IVF and how we now have 2 kids. But I think when you're looking for someone, one of the worst things you can do is just go, I'm just going to I'm just gonna see who's out there and meet this person and maybe will something work out. I think that kind of mentality, you're setting yourself up for failure, and I set myself up for failure so many times because I had that mentality. It wasn't like I need, I'm at this age or whatever age, the cultural system around me wasn't, you find a wife, right? It was you kind of experiment, right? And have fun and see what happens. And then you might live with someone and see where that goes. But statistically speaking, a lot of people have actually mentioned this. That's a really bad strategy because more people that try out living together before they get married actually have a long-term and stable relationship and get married. So looking for a partner, like where did I find this girl? Like I'd met, during that period of time when I split off with my previous girlfriend, I didn't really know what I wanted from my life at that time, but I knew that I was looking for a partner. I had a career. I had the ability to travel and work remotely, and so because of that, I was able to go and meet people from all around the world. I met, during that time I had interactions with people, but nothing that was like, oh, let's meet up, let's have a date, la di da di da. The mentality also was that I was looking for adventure for myself and having that freedom and confidence and air of, it's all right. Like what happens happens. I think that made it easier to not chase anything really. It's like if you sometimes like during the period where you meet someone, you get into this kind of like manic mode and you're kind of like thinking on and off and kind of like stuck in this loop of, trying, are they going to contact me again? The first few months is like you kind of, it's really a seesaw of emotions. And, so being able to just travel and do my thing and enjoy what I was doing photography, I was traveling, working remotely, all the stuff was really enjoyable. It distracted me from all these other emotions that were tied to the meeting and connection with my wife. So having yourself on a stable ground basis, looking after yourself, like making sure that you're eating well and doing exercise as a foundation. I think for a long period of my life, I was looking at the work first. I was working, and then I was looking after my health second, and that didn't result in me really looking after myself. Like people, I'm not sure what they thought, but I think a lot of people at the time saw that I was not doing too well at the time, and it resulted in me learning some pretty intense lessons because went back and started looking at my health, started looking at what I eat, exercise, and that comes first now, right? So having that and enjoying that means that whatever happens, I always can go back to it. So I always go back to that, and it kind of like levels me out. Uh, so I guess with all that in mind, looking for a person, like I kind of thought, where would you meet if I was to do it again? Where would I meet somebody, right? Because I was looking online, chatting to people. I don't think I'd ever look online again, right? If I was in that position, um, like I don't know about the time that I met the most people. I got fortunate that I met my wife online. It was just that's the way things played out. But you don't get married with someone online. For me, anyway, we met and the online connection was maintained because we were in separate countries. Um, but meeting people in a place where you can actually get to know them in face to face pretty quick is and what they want. I think that's really important. You find out what they want. You can do that anywhere. You can do that at a petrol station. You can run into somebody. You could run into somebody in a library, just walking around like your local neighborhood. Um, that's how you meet people, and most of the people you'll meet will become some kind of friend. At the end of the day, and then you have the intent of finding somebody. Then you find that person that you're looking for by actually just going out and meeting people. Uni is really easy because it's university and high school and all those places are really easy because it's very social. There's a lot of people around, um, but most people didn't really get married at uni from history. It was more, I think, friends of friends. So if you have some friends, you go to a party and you meet friends of their friends, etc., etc. And again, I got lucky because my wife is like about 10 years younger than me, and at my age, when I was like about 37, I couldn't find anybody around my age that was even available. Most people had already hooked up. Not many people had kids that I knew. In fact, I think the only person at the time that I knew had kids was like 2 or 3 people. So yeah, I hope you find this insightful. I hope you get something out of it, and that it might help you set yourself up to finding the right person. And look forward to speaking to you at the next video, where we talk about the road to actually having kids in that first few the first period in a relationship where you move towards wanting to have kids. All right, guys, I will speak to you later. Bye.